Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeart Radio Network every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we are with iHeart Radio, the #1 media company in the United States. And Charlton and Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe. We're the only show in the universe that does it freestyle. That means no producer in our ear and no teleprompters, Big C. And according to you good old boys, we're going to stay ranked #1 at least this week. Unlike Michigan and Clemson, we didn't get knocked off, Big C. Even Washington got knocked off. But you good old boys in Latin America, thank you so much for following Charlton and Big C Sports, and especially across the pond, and also in London, England, and Paris, France, and of course the good old boys in Canada. Oh, Canada, our home and native land. Now, that got less booze than Donald Trump, Big C, so I'll take that, okay? I'm trying my best, good old boys in Canada. And also, of course, the land of the free and the home of the brave. This is the November 14th, 2016. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down swamping in the South, Big C?
Well, you know, it's a little cloudy and hazy down there, Charlton. We got some fires going on. We haven't had any rain in a couple of months, seems like. So we feel like we're in California right now with the drought going on and everything. But just talking about Canada, do they have any college football teams up there that were knocked off?
I know they have some college football teams, but I don't think any got knocked off, Big C. They got good CFL and they got good NHL, and I think they even have one baseball team, might be two in the next 5 years from what I'm hearing, Big C. But how's it going for you good old boys?
We're enjoying it, Charlton. I think all the practice teams lost this week in college football, you know. From last I checked, #1 was still #1.
Oh, is Alabama still playing football, Big C? Are they still playing?
Well, you know, it's almost like they hold a practice on every Saturday, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because they go out there and nobody show up. So I guess they practice against themselves.
Well, I tell you, you guys are lucky that they gave that horse some moonshine when the good old boys from USC came out there, because they're playing like the right Trojan horse always should play, Big C. So lucky for Alabama that elephant didn't get trampled by that horse when it came out. But we have a lot of good things to talk about on Charlton and Big C Sports. A lot of NFL action going on over the weekend, and this is my favorite time of the year. We just got finished with the Big C World Series with the Cubs and the Indians playing, so congratulations again, for winning that series, the Big C World Series. And also, Big C, I'm looking at what's happening with the world of the NFL. It's starting to get exciting right now. We will step into some of the games that we had coming up. We had the Broncos 25-23 over the Saints in a game that had a controversial ending because I saw the guy step out of bounds. But, who you going to believe, your lion eyes or what you see on TV, Big C? But your thoughts on that game, New Orleans and Denver. I thought New England would win it, and I think they did, but at least, the final score gave Denver a 2-point lead. Your thoughts?
Well, New Orleans had set themselves up, Charlton, to kick the game-winning field goal. If they missed it, the game was going to go into overtime.
Yeah.
But there were two improprieties on that play by the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
The first one was defensive holding. That the defensive lineman held down the center. He grabbed him by the back of the helmet.
Yeah.
Under NFL rules, you cannot grab a player by the back of the helmet.
Yeah.
But it was allowed by the officials, and he could not raise up and stop the defensive back from jumping over. But you also saw the kick returner returning the ball, Charlton, and he did step on the white line because he had on white shoes. And all the green disappeared.
Yeah.
And you wonder why does the NFL have instant replay?
Get rid of it.
Be inconsistent.
Get rid of it.
Just go with the naked eye and whatever happens on the play. But when there's money involved, things will happen that are improper in any game.
Yeah.
But it was a great competitive game. The thing I look at though with Denver, Charlton, is that they lack a running game.
Yeah.
They lack a running game, and they're asking so much of Simeon this year. They said, when they brought in Mark Sanchez, they just wanted a veteran quarterback to be able to hand off the ball and, have a decent ground game. They cut him at the end of preseason, and they put the ball in Simeon's hands. And Charlton, he has had games this year where he's thrown the ball 53 times, 46 times, 43 times, and 40 times. So that's not game management. That's having to put the ball in the air to control your offense. So, a great win, nevertheless, in New Orleans, controversial at best, but that's what football is all about. Excitement and controversy, Charlton.
Excitement and controversy. And speaking of excitement, this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. And of course, Big C's the one that went swamping. Big C, with all that swamping, there's no water damage. That car must be tightly sealed, Big C. It does have a little fish odor to it, but I understand they have a spray to fix that problem, Big C.
Well, Charlton, that's what's called riding around in the lap of luxury. Okay? Yeah. That car is hermetically sealed all the way around.
Yeah.
It keeps odors out and odors in. So this way, if somebody tries to break into my car, the little jacket or whatever, they open the door and they close the door just as quick as they open the door.
Well, that reminds me of a skit that Richard Pryor did one time. He had some Labrador Retrievers or some Great Danes, and they went out looking to go, going for a walk, and they ran up on this horse that he had, and one of them said, "Man, what's that smell?" And he said, I won't say what he said, but you can understand what he said. Richard Pryor still makes me laugh, Big C. But back into the Cadillac Escalade, it's a choice vehicle. Go down and tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. And if you worked hard, you should play hard, and that's what Big C does in his mighty Cadillac Escalade, Big C. But also back into the game with the Broncos and the Saints. Just looking at some of the numbers, Denver had 24 first downs. New Orleans only had 19. Now think about this. They only had 3 and 4 rushing first downs running the ball. Denver passed for 20 first downs, along with the great Drew Brees only had 15. In the total plays, Denver had 83 compared to 51 against New Orleans down in the Dome. And when you look at Brees, we said he would get you 300 yards, and he got 300 yards. He was 21 of 29, 2 interceptions though, 303 yards. Simeon was 25 of 40. He also threw 2 picks, Big C, but he had 250 yards. But that's just the kind of game that you expect to see when 2 great teams get together. New Orleans is a better team than the record, Big C. Again, your thoughts? Did you think he was out of bounds, or would you go along with the replay saying not out of bounds, Big C?
Well, Charlton, everybody's going to be skeptical in a situation like that. But, the truth is in the pudding, as they would say back in the old days.
Yeah.
And when you see the green disappear on a return, and that foot is clearly on the line, you have to go with that call. I mean, it doesn't take the officials 9 times to review a play where we saw it, live, and everybody saw it live, and you can see the reaction of the New Orleans bench at the time of the return, John, that he was clearly out of bounds. You're not going to have 20 people running up pointing to a spot that had never seen it, Charlton, if they didn't see that. But this was clearly a mistake by the officials and the replay booth and whoever's in NFL headquarters not making the proper call. And that's the thing that I have with sports, Charlton. Is that so many officials are costing critical plays in games. If you're not going to make the call, never blow a whistle, swallow it. But when you see a situation like
wait, Big C. We don't want to have them swallowing whistles. That's like the canary. You don't want them swallowing whistles, Big C. I hope they don't take what you're saying literally, Big C.
Well, Charlton, look at this last night in the game with New England and Seattle, okay? The play at the end of the game was Gronkowski and
Chancellor. And Chancellor.
This was a play where, they bodied up to each other, and I'm glad that the refs let them play.
They let them play.
You can call pass interference, you can call illegal contact, you can call defensive holding on every play in the NFL, okay? You can do that. And when the officials throw flags, we see a lot of mystery flags in the games, and we see a lot of non-calls, as we saw in both of those games, Charles. That's the problem with the league, the inconsistency. And everybody saying, well, they're just human. But they have this electronic sidekick that you want to call instant replay. All right? So either the human is inaccurate or the sidekick is inaccurate. You got to make a judgment call as a fan. But, don't jilt the fans who are watching a game, even the betting public like yourself, who got all that money laid out there on a weekly.
Wait a minute. I'm still trying to get my jersey from the black hole out of the cleaners, Big C. They said it's going to take extra solution to get out that yellow champagne they poured on me, Big C. but also another game in the NFL, the Tennessee Titans. What's happening with the Green Bay Packers? They were blown out 47-25. The Titans are a better team because of their running game. We look at Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. Gets a lot of credit for being a Super Bowl champion, but this is a guy they're going in opposite directions. Obviously, Marcus Mariota, when you look at those two guys passing, Rodgers still had a good game at 31 of 51, 2 interceptions, Big C, 371 yards passing, and Mariota was 19 to 26 for 295. But I think the marquee difference in that game, Big C, when you look at the total plays, Green Bay ran it. They had 73 plays compared to Tennessee's 59, but Tennessee was getting the ball in the end zone. Big C, your thoughts on that game?
Well, Charlton, it's what we talked about, the big horses running the ball for Tennessee.
Yeah.
If you look at DeMarco Murray, he had over 100 yards rushing. He looks just like he did when he was in Dallas running the ball, Charlton. Right now, he's second in rushing in the NFL behind Ezekiel Elliott, who's leading the NFL with 1,005 yards after 9 games. And he's only the third rookie running back to gain 1,000 yards in his first 9 games of his NFL career, Charlton. The other two are Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
The great Walter Payton, Sweetness, and Eric Dickerson. Those are the only 2 other running backs who have gained 1,000 yards in their first 9 NFL games. But when you look at the Tennessee Titans offense, we talked about it last week in our show, Charlton.
Yeah.
Mariota, if he stays in the pocket, he's one of the better passers in the NFL. He's completing over 70% of his passes when he's throwing from the pocket, Charlton. His problem when he wants to get outside and try to throw the ball when he's mobile. On the professional level, the defensive backs are a lot quicker than the defensive backs on the college level that he was able to exploit when he was at the University of Oregon.
Yeah.
But when he's in the pocket, he's able to put some leverage on the ball and get it downfield with a lot more velocity. And you find him finding open receivers. 4 touchdown passes on Sunday are proof of what he's doing. You know, we look at Aaron Rodgers on the flip side, okay, Charlton? Yeah. And he's been one of the most outstanding quarterbacks in the NFL for the past decade.
Amazing.
And when you get all the so-called experts, you know, when they talk about quarterbacks that they want to go to battle with, it's either been Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I always like Drew Brees. I'm going to go with Drew because he lives out there when you can drink freely all the time, you know. He's one of them swamp boys. Yeah.
Is that what you guys say, going swamping? I didn't understand what going swamping meant. I thought it meant swimming in the lake or something. But you guys mean taking your Escalades through the water in the riverbeds? Is that what it is? Is that what you call swamping, Big C?
Well, you know, when I look at Aaron Rodgers now, Charlton, you know, I really have to question the validity of his accuracy, of his gamemanship. Yeah. You know, he's gotten happy feet. Now, Aaron has been hit a copious amount of times in his career. He's had several concussions. And it's been well documented that he's missed games because of that, Charlton. But, you know, it's like what we hear. When these quarterbacks are having problems, it's everybody else around them.
It's the O-line's fault.
We've heard that with Carson Wentz. We've heard that with several other quarterbacks. Well, the other players have to try harder with Andrew Luck. You know, it's not the quarterback. Well, yes, offensive linemen are going to get beat. Defensive linemen are great talents nowadays, and these blitz schemes that these defensive coordinators come up with. But when you look at someone like an Aaron Rodgers, who's supposed to be one of the most cerebral quarterbacks and athletic quarterbacks in the entire NFL, yes, he has his moments. He complete passes. But you also have to challenge a quarterback when he has incomplete passes, okay? When he holds the ball too long and takes sacks. And we saw that several times with Aaron Rodgers on Sunday. But, the football is a team game, Charlton. It is truly a team game. So everybody is culpable. So if they're going to blame an offensive lineman, they have to blame the quarterback.
Blame everybody.
You got to blame him. You got to blame the defensive backs. You got to blame the defensive lineman. So Aaron Rodgers is just as responsible for the Packers' loss as Mike McCarthy, the head coach, who is not on the field taking a snap or blocking or tackling anybody. And everybody's calling for McCarthy's head now. All he's ever done is won in Green Bay, Charles.
Yeah, he's only won, Big Z. And also, speaking of calling for heads, the Houston Texans 24 over the Jacksonville Jaguars 21. And I know, we always talk about Brock Osweiler because the media and the NFL even, they want to say the quarterback's the most important guy on the team. I always thought it was a running back because they always going to have a running game to win, Big C. When I look at Brock Osweiler, he's got the $72 million for signing with the Houston Texans. They didn't even see the guy, okay? Brock Osweiler was 14 of 27. Big C, he had 99 yards, okay? I mean, they have a dog that ran 99 yards for the pregame, Big C, and he wasn't even tired. This guy threw 99 yards in 4 quarters, and they're paying him $72 million a year to get 99 yards in 4 quarters. They had 6 first downs passing the ball. 6. There are guys that do that in Pop Warner, Big C, but he's not turning away that money. He's going to cash every penny on that paycheck. And when you look at what happened with them, they only had 6 passing first downs, and they had 18. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Jacksonville had 18 passing first downs, but Houston still found a way to win the game because of their defense. But if you ask me, Big C, Brock Osweiler, not only is a bad quarterback, he's stealing money, Big C. He's not even hitting 100 yards passing. Your thoughts on the great Brock Osweiler, Big C?
Well, Charlton, we have to look no further than a Monday night game that they played with Denver when he had his homecoming going back home in Denver when
108 yards.
He completed 28 passes for 128 yards in the game in Denver.
Yeah.
And people talking about he looks like a prototypical NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
What is pro? He might look like a pro, but he's not typical, okay?
Right.
That's the difference. Just leave the pro on the front, but not typical. Because, I'll put it this way, Charlton. If he was an African-American quarterback, he would have been benched.
Oh, yeah, they would have benched him. They would have benched him already.
He made him release.
Yeah.
To say the least about it.
But how does he walk into, they have a show called Undrafted. Okay, here's a kid that came out of Arizona State. He wasn't that great of a quarterback in the Pac-12. They never won a Pac-12 championship with him. And then he goes to Denver and sits the bench behind the great Peyton Manning, who had a broken neck. And even with a broken neck, once they fused it, Big C, with some super glue and some moonshine, they put him back in the game. And Osweiler,
the
Band-Aids, okay, Band-Aids too. And some of that same talk about this guy's a can't miss because he's 6'8". He's throwing for 99 yards in a game. And they're saying this is the best we can find for an NFL quarterback, Big C. I just think that's a joke. Your last thoughts on the great Brock Osweiler. Total plays, Atlanta. I mean, think about the total plays for the Houston Texans when it comes to having a guy that can't get the ball up and down the field. They had a total plays of 61 plays compared to Jacksonville's 73. But again, 99 yards passing for an NFL quarterback, that's a joke, Big C.
Well, I don't think you can go back any time recent future, Charlton, and find a starting quarterback in the NFL who passed for 99 yards in a game, throwing that many passes, Charlton. That is an unacceptable number. Yes, they won the game, but that's something they're going to have to take a hard look at.
So why don't they put a hold on his paycheck? You ever have somebody put a hold on the paycheck because they realize you didn't really show up for work, Big C? Just a thought.
Well, it just goes to show when we talk about football as a team game, is that the team is winning the game, not Brock Osweiler. But Brock Osweiler is the highest paid player out there on the field, even though the rest of the team is doing all the work, Charlton. So, we talk about the mispropriety of pay when we look at the African-American running backs and we look at the white quarterbacks in the NFL, Charlton, where you figure that African-American running backs are expendable, but these franchise quarterbacks are hard to find.
Yeah.
Now, the last time I checked, Charlton, I think it's only 12 teams that make the playoffs, maybe 14.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So we got 16 quarterbacks that's perpetrating franchise quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Because they're not making the playoffs, okay?
That's so funny.
Somebody's lying and stealing because they're not NFL quarterbacks.
And let's not talk about Donald Trump when it comes to lying and stealing because we know some people want that to represent them for the president, okay? Big C? Just keeping it real, Big C. Also, another game when we look at in the NFL, the Washington Redskins, the Vikings are still on a slide, Big C, 26-20. The Redskins over the Vikings. In total first downs, they were both about even at first downs. Minnesota had 22 and Washington had 23. When I look at the total plays, they were about even at 64 for Minnesota and 62 for Washington. When I look at passing, Bradford was 31 of 40, one interception, 307 yards, Big C. And the great Kirk Cousins, 22 of 33, no interceptions. He had 262 yards, and Minnesota Diggs had 13 catches, 164 yards. That was a great game, but can the Vikings ever get back on track, Big C?
Well, when you said the Vikings on a slide, I was right there when I was chasing some geese, and all of a sudden I slipped on something. And I was flying like the Vikings there, Charlton.
What did you step on before you slipped, Big C? Did you step on something before you slipped?
Well, yes, I did. All of a sudden, they got a little muddy out there. But when you look at the Vikings, Charlton, all of a sudden they become a very terrible team.
Yeah.
They started out 5-0, and Sam Bradford couldn't deal with the success.
Yeah.
Because that was the most consecutive games he's ever won in his NFL career. First time in his life he'd ever been 5-0 outside of college.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he got there and it's like, wow, I don't have to play anymore. And his QBR rating has gone through the floor, Charlton.
Yeah.
It has gotten as low can get. Although their offensive line has had a lot of injuries, and we know they don't have a running game because Adrian Peterson's been out all year, Charlton.
Yeah. But
you have a great receiver corps. You got Rudolph, Diggs, you got Patterson. I mean, these guys can catch the football, Charlton. So Sam Bradford is holding the ball too long. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
Holding the ball too long like Aaron Rodgers in the pocket. You got to learn how to get the ball out of your hand quickly. It's better to play the ball like Carson Wentz. Throw a 10-yard pass, throw a 5-yard pass.
Yeah.
You don't always have to put it in the air 25 yards down the field. And that's what's happened with the Vikings offense, is that they have so many delayed routes that they're going, trying to put too many moves on defenders.
Yeah.
Just get rid of the ball. Quick hit your swing routes, Charlton. Sam Bradford did that. If you go back and you look at the first 3 or 4 games that the Vikings played with him at quarterback, Charlton, that's the type of offense they ran, very conservative. And instead of, as they would say about the Cowboys with Dak Prescott, dumbing down the offense, they open it up.
Yeah. That's funny. Who's going to dumb down the offense to help him win games? He's 8-1. That's not too bad, Big C.
Yeah. They didn't dumb down the offense for Bradford. And he's showing how dumb he's been lately, Charlton.
Well, another game that was kind of a surprise to me, but I like the Eagles' defense. Carson Wentz actually had a decent game. It was Philadelphia beating the good old boys. The Birds versus the Birds, Big C. The Eagles 24 and the Falcons 15. When you look at first downs of that game, Philadelphia had 25 first downs, and the Falcons only had 11 with a $125 million quarterback and Matt Ryan. They had passing. The Falcons only had 7 first downs passing, 3 first downs rushing, and Philadelphia had 12 and 12 when it comes to first downs passing and rushing, Big C. The total plays, the Falcons only ran 48 plays compared to Philadelphia's 76. They're still paying Matt Ryan $125 million, Big C, in his contract. Some weeks he's up, some weeks he's down, but that's a lot of money to give a quarterback. But he can only get you less than 2 first downs passing each half, Big C. Your thoughts on the great Matt Ryan being outdueled by the Carson Wentz, Big C?
Well, Matt Ryan's leading the NFL in passing yards, Charlton, as quarterback. But, are we seeing the 2015 Matt Ryan showing up again? Now, you remember that the Falcons started out last year 5-0.
Yeah, same thing.
All of a sudden, they hit that mid-season slump, and they ended up 8-8. You look at where they are right now. They've lost 3 games. They're 5-3 now, Charlton. This is a team that, when you look at a high-powered offense, people were wondering a month ago, how do you stop the Falcons? They went into Oakland and drugged them. They went to Denver and drugged them. They just went up and down the West Coast.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden they're playing teams that everyone suspects for them to beat, you and your buddies out there in Vegas.
Wait. Leave Charles Barkley out of it. I think, don't they have something called Shaq and the Fool with Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny Smith, and Charles Barkley? They need to do something like Shaq and the Fool with these NFL quarterbacks who are cashing these $100 million paychecks, Big C. And you can't tell me that you can't get more than 2 first downs passing the football each quarter, Big C.
Well, Charlton, you got the great receivers. You got Julio Jones, Mohamed Sanu. You got Freeman in the backfield running the ball. You got Tololulu at tight end, a big target, 6'7", 6'8". How can you miss him? And Matt Ryan was looking like a rookie in this game. You couldn't tell him from Aaron Rodgers. I mean, you got 2 of the most prolific quarterbacks in the NFL, as far as the experts saying that these are the best in the game.
Yeah.
And neither one of them could win a game in a game that they should have handily won, Charlton.
No.
These are the points you have to question about the experts and these quarterbacks, Charlton, who lack consistency. Granted, everybody in the NFL is paid to play.
Yeah.
Okay? Even the defensive guys, as smart as they are, get paychecks.
Yeah. I know you're a defensive guy, Big Z, but when you look at what they did numbers-wise, it was Ryan for Atlanta, 18 of 33, 1 interception, 267 yards. Carson Wentz was 25 of 36, 231 yards. Actually had a decent game throwing the ball this time, Big C. But I like your guy Julio Jones. He had 10 catches, 135 yards. But, Philly won this game because they just kept pounding the football, Big C. And something about Atlanta, again, they start hot and they finish cold. But the paychecks won't stop being cashed, Big C. And when we look at what's happening around the NFL, I want to say this segment is sponsored by the California Lottery. What can a buck do for you? This week, the Powerball's up to $299 million, Big C. May as well say $300 million. Let's just round it up, Big C.
Well, Charlton, when it gets to 300 pounds, I'm going to get all my change to get out of that.
Okay, you're gonna empty the piggy bank, huh? Well, it's won by Charlton and Big C Sports. I've been telling all my good preachers around the country, Creflo Dollar and T.D. Jakes and all these good old boys that, we need God's favor. So we got the favor, Big C. Congratulations, Charlton, Big C, winning that $300 million. Your thoughts on what you're going to do? You going to buy more moonshine, Big C, or coffee cans? Which one?
Well, I love my coffee. You gotta have that coffee in the morning. Gotta have that eye opener. Balance you out from the night before, Charlton.
Yeah.
So, I gotta buy some more dirt so that I don't have all these mounds building up in my yard and everything.
That's so funny, Big C. Another good game that I thought kind of went under the radar just because when I look at the players involved in it, I look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They had a blowout win over the Bears. But one of the best over the Chicago Bears. They're still playing, Big C. The Monsters. The Monsters from the Midwest. No, they're not still there, Big C. No, he's not there anymore, Big C. But what I understand, they may come back, Big C, because they may have open trials now, Big C. But I like what Winston did in that game. He had an incredible play. I don't advise the kind of play that he had where he scrambled kind of like a Fran Tarkenton from the good old days, but he was able to throw the ball downfield, had a great game, against the Bears, and it was Winston had 23 of 33. He had one interception, but he threw for over 312 yards. Cutler back to his usual self, 16 of 30, had 2 interceptions and 182 yards passing. Your thoughts on Winston? I thought he's playing the way he was capable of playing, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, on that play, Charlton, that you elaborated on, he held the ball for over 11 and a half seconds.
Yeah.
Running around. And that just shows you, was Chicago there? Did they even try? Did they want to play?
Yeah.
And as a former defensive player, that was one of the most atrocious defensive efforts I ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
A quarterback holding the ball for over 11 seconds before releasing it.
Before, yeah.
You got to have some athleticism and even some heart.
Yeah.
I question the heart that the Chicago Bears have right now defensively. They just lost their great receiver, Alshon Jeffries, the day on suspension for, illegal substance use. But,
what was it, Big C? Was it moonshine or was it something else that's illegal, Big C?
Well, maybe they should lose their defense for illegal play, Charlton, because these guys had no performance enhancement.
Yeah, it's a shame what's happening.
They really needed it. And for an NFL team to look that way defensively, Charlton.
Yeah.
And I mean, they really looked bad. It was an embarrassment to the great city of Chicago. I mean, they just came off a tremendous World Series victory, Charlton.
Yeah.
Beating the Cleveland Indians in a 7 games.
In the Big C World Series. And
to see the Chicago Bears be so inept defensively and offensively. We've talked about Jay Cutler. The NFL has talked about Jay Cutler, Charlton, for years. Jay Cutler just seems disinterested playing quarterback in the NFL. It's like, you guys are wasting my time paying me all this money.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like. I mean, he comes out there. I mean, I know what I look like drinking moonshine, and he has the same glaze look in his eyes. So
yeah, he does. That's funny.
I mean,
I've seen that look.
I've seen his looking in my head like it. It looks like he's coming.
Yeah.
Okay? But they know what's coming.
Yeah, that's funny. Are you saying deers play football or deers drink moonshine? Which one do you play?
They out there playing Dodge cars. Like, okay, that's what they do.
That's funny. And speaking of Dodge cars, look at the Kansas City Chiefs. The great Andy Reid, man, if they can make the Super Bowl in the regular season, this guy would probably win a couple of them, Big C. The Chiefs over the Panthers 20-17. And when you look at that game, I really loved the way they were down and they came back. Smith was 25 of 38, 1 interception, only 178 yards, Big C. And the great Cam Newton, 23 of 38, had 1 pick and 261 yards. But Andy Reid's teams, when you look at how well they play the big games, they can fall behind and still come back. They went all the way across the country and won, and I'm just impressed with the way they won that game. They're still tied with the Raiders for first place in the AFC West. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, Charlton, you talk about that 1 pick. That 1 pick was very costly. That was the great Eric Berry, the defensive back out of the University of Tennessee that plays for Kansas City, who 2 years ago, Charlton, had cancer.
Yeah.
And he missed the entire season, but he's back, but he and Cam Newton have a very interesting relationship. If you go back to their high school days in Georgia, both of these guys were competitive quarterbacks against each other. Eric Berry played quarterback as well as Cam Newton, and they competed against each other. So he has a very good read on Cam Newton, and he was able to pick that ball off something. But the most interesting play was when the defensive back hit the receiver, Benjamin, coming across, and they had 3 guys gang up on him, and they stripped him of the ball. And that's one of the problems with a lot of NFL players. They want to fight for extra yardage instead of just going down. Fighting for that extra yardage, that's what cost Carolina the game. People are not going to say that was the play that did it. But everybody's going to go back on Cam Newton saying how foolish he looked because he dabbed after a touchdown, how he ran the ball. But, you have to look at it as we talk about football is a team game. Benjamin gave up a privileged fumble late in the game that cost his team the game.
Yeah.
Carolina was ahead, but they were tied, and it allowed Kansas City to kick the winning field goal, Charlton.
Well, Big C, downtown by the Golden One Center in Sacramento, California, there's still this beautiful bunny rabbit. When you come out to California again, you got to see it. It's made of glass. It's worth $10 million, Big C. So not, Brock Osweiler, he threw off for almost as many yards as Brock Osweiler threw for a Big C, just so you know. And he's a bunny rabbit, okay? Just keeping that in mind. And as we look at more games throughout the NFL, Big C, the Miami Dolphins, 31-24 over the San Diego Chargers. And this one you have to blame Phillip Rivers. That was a great game down in San Diego. Really impressed with the way the Dolphins can play on the road going that far from home. When I look at the passing stats in that game, Tannehill was 17-24, 240 yards, Big C. But the reason the Chargers lost is Rivers was 23 of 44. He threw 4 interceptions. He also had 326 yards. Even if he threw 2 interceptions, the Chargers win that game. What's up with Phillip Rivers, Big C?
Well, Charlton, it's what we've talked about with these $100 million quarterbacks. At some point, you got to start planning for the future. Phillip Rivers has been around 11 years in the NFL, former number 1 draft pick of the San Diego, the New York Giants. And there was actually a trade because Eli Manning was taken first, he was taken second.
Yeah.
And the team swapped quarterbacks that year because Eli refused to play in San Diego. But, Mike McCoy's job is on the hot seat, okay? Yeah. But Mike McCoy didn't go out there and throw Eli Manning.
It's not his fault.
He threw 4 fourth-quarter interceptions, Phillip Rivers did. He did a swap with Eli Manning. That's what Eli Manning has been known for, throwing all these fourth-quarter interceptions.
Yeah.
But, as an NFL quarterback, Charlton, you can't throw 4 fourth-quarter interceptions. And then, you're going to say that, I love listening to the national media and the broadcast.
Yeah.
Well, the receiver's got to work back towards that ball.
Yeah.
Well, that ball is so poorly, the only person that has a chance is the defensive back, Charlton.
Yeah.
And so, when you're looking at this, and here's Phillip Rivers throwing 4 fourth-quarter interceptions, yes, he has a great amount of yardage.
Yeah.
But at some point, you know he's not going to get you to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's what you have to look at. I mean, and a lot of these quarterbacks around that are making big paychecks, they're not going to get you to the Super Bowl. When do you start retooling for your future? We've seen one team retool for their future, and we've seen a success story behind that in the Dallas Cowboys, Charles.
Yeah, and that's a great thing. We'll get on that story later. But in essence, in covering up for Phillip Rivers, it's really not his fault. There's a lot of talk about San Diego trying to get a new stadium, if they're going to move to LA or not. Well, Rivers thought they were moving to Las Vegas. He thought he'd get a good deal, if you know what I mean, BC. No, Phillip, they're moving to Los Angeles, not Las Vegas. So next time, keep those 4 picks in your pocket, BC. And speaking of another game, I look at the Arizona Cardinals, a 23-20 win over the 49ers. That game came down to the last 3 seconds with a field goal kick, Big C. And the 49ers, Kaepernick, actually, he's playing a lot better as a quarterback for the 49ers, Big C. When I look at what he did last time they played before the bye week, he had 400 yards passing against the Saints, and he's been averaging 5 yards a carry. Well, this time rushing, Kaepernick led that game in rushing along with Johnson from Arizona. He had actually 55 yards in rushing, Big C, for Colin Kaepernick. And when it came to passing, Kaepernick was 17 of 30, 210 yards. Palmer was 30 of 49. He threw 2 interceptions, had 376 yards passing, Big C. So outside of Kaepernick had more yards rushing the ball than Carlos Hyde, their leading running back, Big C. I think they found who they need to build around, whether it's the NFL Network or CBS, NFL on CBS or NFL on Fox. All of these people, ESPN, they were all calling for Kaepernick to be traded. Well, if you look at the productivity for all of the players on this team, find me one person that's leading the team in rushing and also passing, Big C. I think he's coming along great. Still doesn't have a great offensive line, has a horrible defense, but he has a front office that's so knuckleheadish. They're keeping him around bulky when they should be trying to build their defense and put some talent around a quarterback, the last one to take him to a Super Bowl. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, we've talked about a couple of quarterbacks early in the program, and tell me what did Aaron Rodgers' team do this last weekend?
They lost.
What did Matt Ryan's team do this last weekend?
They lost, Big C.
What did Sam Bradford's team do this past weekend?
I think they lost. My math is not that good, but I think they lost.
Okay, so, when we look at this negativity, from the media, and also it's tough to come in there. What did his team do?
I think they lost, Big C.
I don't even know if they caught the plane going to the game. So, but when we look at this national media and broadcasters talking about Colin Kaepernick and how they berated the young man and saying that he's not that good of a player, you got these guys that are making $100 million. Colin Kaepernick took a pay cut this year to play. Okay, he's been productive in his time on the field. His team is very poor, talent-wise, and it has not helped him out at all on the field.
Oh, yeah.
But when you look at the way he has played in the 3 games that he is quarterback for the 49ers this year, and you compare them statistically to what Matt Ryan has done in those games, what Jay Cutler's done in his games. I mean, Jay Cutler's not even on the board. He doesn't even recognize.
Yeah, he doesn't even recognize anymore.
But look at what Aaron Rodgers has done in those same amount of games. The amount of wins that these teams have had. He's had the same amount of wins that Aaron Rodgers has had in the same amount of games, Charlton. But nobody's blasting Aaron Rodgers. It's everybody else's problem.
Well, see, if you think about it, and if you're a GM and you're trying, we look at how great Prescott is playing, and Kaepernick had 10 rushes, 55 yards. That's 5.5 yards per rush. That's Hall of Fame numbers for a running back, because he's a quarterback doing it. Plus, he's throwing the ball for 200 yards in this game against a team that's totally outmanned them. And all they can talk about is how well he missed this pass here. He should have floated the ball a little bit more. Find anybody else in that organization that's putting up the kind of numbers that Colin Kaepernick is. And speaking of putting up numbers, this segment is sponsored by United Labor, guaranteed $100,000 life insurance with no medical questions. Tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports at Yes Charlton. And also, we're looking to hire over 1,000 licensed insurance brokers. We want to put people back to work. We work with the AFL-CIO. We work with all of the unions in the country. We're also endorsed by the American Cancer Society and the American Heart Association. And Big C, before we get on more NFL scores, I want to bring up something, because we talk about politics, we talk about society, we talk about people who are smart. So if you're just a dumb person, don't listen to the Charlton and Big C. Go find somebody else. But I want to just touch on this thing with Kaepernick again, because we just had this great election in the United States, which was a farce to me. And I want to just ask all these good old boys, whether it's Trent Dilfer, whether it's a Mike Diffa, or whether it's Tony La Russa, or even one of the quarterbacks that's on CBS that was telling Colin Kaepernick to sit down and shut up, and he's a disgrace for not standing up. And what he was talking about is the same thing that happened in our election. Well, I have so much respect for Coach Popovich for the San Antonio Spurs, Mark Cuban for the Dallas Mavericks, Steve Kerr for the Golden State Warriors, and Stan Van Gundy. Now, these are all wealthy white men. They had a stance on what happened during this racist election, that Donald Trump got the vote. He lost the popular vote, but he got the good old boy vote, and there's more hate crimes throughout the country because of the same garbage that Colin Kaepernick stood up against 10 weeks ago, Big C. Now we have these white, wealthy Americans, white men. There's no criticism about them saying what Colin Kaepernick stood up for, but they expressed why he wasn't standing for the national anthem. I just want to get your thoughts on why no criticism for good old white men, and I like these guys and I respect them, but no criticism from the media, no criticism from the talking heads trying to throw stains on Colin Kaepernick. Why don't they criticize Pop or Van Gundy or Kerr or Cuban, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, those stances by Dilford, Babu Sweeney, and other people in the media, as well as Jim Nantz, that was all racially motivated, Charlton.
Yeah.
It was all racially motivated against a person of color. It wasn't anything else. This person of color was making them uncomfortable because he made it public what they talk about behind closed doors, Charlton. Yeah. You're not supposed to let the genie out of the bottle, and that's what Kaepernick was doing. He was taking a stance about social injustice in America, about how America is not fair. And so they felt that he was saying something that he shouldn't say because that's how they lived their lives, Charlton. They couldn't tell you the last time they had 5 black guys over their house, any of them, Charlton. Outside of the team,
Big C, they may have had it with the team.
They don't even have 5 black teammates over there. They might meet them at the bar, but they're not at the house. Okay, let's be realistic about that.
Yeah.
Trent Dilfer? No, he's not hanging out in the black neighborhood. If there's one black living in his neighborhood, he's happy.
Yeah.
These guys are not like that, Charlton. But when Mark Cuban talks about that, he employs a lot of them.
Yeah.
Greg Popovich coaches a lot of them.
Yeah.
Stan Van Gundy coaches them. So he knows the social issues that these players deal with, Charlton.
Yeah.
They're talking about social interactions factually from a business and a life perspective.
Yeah.
And so when they spoke out on it, these guys didn't have a leg to stand on. They spoke about Colin Kaepernick because white media has been pissed off with Colin Kaepernick all year long, okay?
Yeah.
They blame the 49ers' demise on him, not management, but on him. But he doesn't make the tackles. He's not, catching the balls. He's not covering the receivers. But the social injustice comments that were made by network broadcasters against Colin Kaepernick shows the racial divide in America. That they will come on and land-based an African-American athlete. But think about the situation with Ricky Incognito, Charlton, 2 years ago, okay?
Yeah.
With the racial epithets and threats and hazing that he was doing when he was with the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
Cost him a year's suspension in the NFL. How many of the white media said that he should sit down and shut up and he shouldn't be allowed in the game?
Yeah.
That, they didn't say that, Charlton. They covered for him. Well, we know him as a good guy. It seems out of character. This is what they're saying against a racist.
And
it seems out of character.
Yeah.
But, here's a guy, Colin Kaepernick, that was not being a racist. He was taking a social stance that this is your First Amendment right to do these things.
Yeah.
He did nothing violent.
So let me ask.
Incognito was violent.
Yeah.
And everybody took a stance in protecting him for his character.
And let me ask you this question. I think this, Donald Trump's trying to make his right-hand man, I think his name is Bannon. He's a right-wing guy, kind of the David Duke Ku Klux Klan mentality. And that's a fact, okay? For people who think that's cool, that's not cool. This country is teetering on doing what's right or doing what's wrong. It's like going back to the 1950s when you can run that type of hatred and you win. Now we have these hate crimes. They're up in the country, Big C. That's not a black thing. These good old boy groups are up. They're rising, and that was ignited by Donald Trump's hatred. And I applaud President Obama, but I disagree with him to a certain extent. He's saying take the high road. I don't think you should take the high road when you have a bigot and a fascist and a sexist. And people say, well, just give him a chance. There's a lot of guys incarcerated for some of the incendiary remarks that he made when they get carried out, Big C, and it's starting to happen all over the country. So again, the last thing I want to ask you, because you live down in the good old boy South, when we see people protesting, these are white Americans protesting in the streets. This isn't black Americans protesting. I think Trump got 8% of the black vote, and he got about 29% of the Hispanic vote. Ironically, he's already talking about deporting, not Native Americans, but Mexican Americans out of the country, Big C. I know some people personally, they've already been contacted and threatened. So I'm going to ask you a question one more time with Big C Sports. And this is to Fox, ESPN, CBS, NBC, ABC, all of them. Why isn't Mark Cuban and Greg Popovich and Steve Kerr and Stan Van Gundy being criticized and torn down and told to get the hell out of the country where Colin Kaepernick was, Big C?
Well, Charlton, then you'd be speaking against yourself. They're not going to do that. These are very wealthy, intelligent, articulate Anglo-white men in America. The problem with that, Charlton, is that now all of a sudden you're talking about yourself if you talk about them. It was easy because it was racially divided with Colin Kaepernick. And you talk about the hate crimes going on here in America. There was a student in South Carolina today, Charlton, that threatened a Muslim teacher. She's a female teacher that wears a head guard.
Yeah.
And he threatened her, sent a threatening letter. Not verbally, but sent the letter.
That's even happening. That's even happening in California, Big C. It's happening all over the states, Big C.
There's tagging going around. There's been churches burned, just like we had in the 60s, Charlton. This is the racial divide that is coming to America that was embraced by Donald Trump and spoken about in a lot of his rallies. Go out and beat the hell out of him. I'll pay your legal bill.
And people are doing it.
And they're doing it. They're following what he said. He talked about he's going to bring jobs back to America. Let me give you one of the largest companies getting ready to leave America, Charlton, in the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
It's called Courier Air Conditioning. Everybody knows who they are. They own half the homes in America.
Yeah.
They're leaving America. Their plan is going to close down. It's in South Carolina. It's going to close down. 1,700 jobs. They're going to leave the country because economically they can make the product for less and import it into this country and make a better profit. Donald Trump was telling America that America doesn't understand, and we talked about it on our show months ago.
Yeah.
We talked about financial independence through Wall Street. This is what Donald Trump's saying, that he's going to disrupt this Wall Street. He can't. Wall Street is the world, Charlton.
Yeah.
It's the stock market. These corporations are traded on the stock market. They're about profiting. They're not about Donald Trump. They're not about America unless you have money, okay?
Yeah.
And they're going to go where they can make the largest return on investment for their shareholders, Charlton. And Courier Air Conditioning is leaving America. 1,700 jobs from their South Carolina plant. Donald Trump is not going to stop it.
No.
He sold a bill of goods to America.
Yeah.
That they bought into because of the racial divide in this country, Charlton. Let's be realistic. White America was tired of having a black leader for 8 years.
Yeah.
White America had to do something that they never thought they'd have to deal with for 8 years, Charlton. Listen to a black commander-in-chief, President Obama.
Yeah.
That was the whole crux of the election. It wasn't about Hillary and the emails, because those emails, no one knew about them because they were on a private server. That's the reason why you never had a breach of security, because everybody's searching for a government email instead of looking for a private server. And let me give you one more thing about how these emails got out, Charlton, that never came out in the media. There was a guy who used to work for the NSA, hiding out in Russia for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Named Eric Snowden.
Oh, yeah.
Eric Snowden had all the insight on everybody's emails, okay? People wonder why this stuff came out of Russia. Putin gave him asylum 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Because Eric Snowden had access to all the government emails here in the United States. People want to think it's just Putin. No, it's not just Putin. Putin had a patsy over there named Eric Snowden.
Yeah.
That the American public has been blind and dumb about this guy for the last 3 years.
Amazing.
That he has sit over there in Russia. He has leaked all this information with aid of Putin and the Russian government. Donald Trump is aware of this. The American government is aware of this, but they wanted to blame Hillary Clinton for what Eric Snowden was doing when a warrant was put out for him, an international warrant, and he could not leave the embassy in Russia. Who knows where he is over there now?
Yeah.
But he's still in Russia. This is the leak that has got all these emails out, WikiLeaks. This is Eric Snowden, Jonathan,
an
American citizen. But the American public was blind to this. They're thinking Hillary Clinton did something wrong. She had a private server that no one knew about, and that's the reason why there was never any breach of security in her emails, because no one knew about the private server.
And see, then the great thing about the sports business is it will bring people together, but I refuse to be like a lot of knucklehead people who say, well, the election's over, let's just let bygones be bygones. No, there's some dangerous stuff happening in our country. There are kids who are warning that they're going to be deported. I know too many people of color, whether it's Mexican Americans, or I know a lot of Jewish people. I know a lot of people that are from the Middle East also, as well as African Americans. And a lot of people are getting, it's a kind of feeling back in the Jim Crow, like the days of Jim Crow. And it's just a shame that our country's too good for that. So if anyone wants to call anyone a sycophant or a knucklehead and tell Colin Kaepernick to sit down and shut up, just Google what Mark Cuban said, Greg Popovich, Steve Kerr, and Stan Van Gundy about this election and about American citizens, because there's more angry whites over this than there are blacks. I just want to bring that up in this final segment.
Look, before you go, look at it from this perspective.
Yeah.
Not one NFL coach has spoken up about this.
Yeah.
You know, we've had a couple of people say that they voted for Trump because they're wealthy owners, so they're in that billionaires club themselves. But not one NFL coach has spoken up about this. And when you look at the NFL, it's 75 to 78% African American.
Yeah.
So all these coaches are representing African American society, through their players.
Yeah.
But none of them spoke up in behalf of their players, Charlton. So you have to look at that. Why is that? Does the NFL have that much a hold on its players that it will not allow the coaches to speak up?
Yeah.
I remember a couple of weeks ago when Eli Apple's mother had spoke up about the abuse of Josh Brown, the punter in New York. And here was the team trying to silence him.
Yeah.
Saying that he should talk to his mother about this situation, because she shouldn't bring that up because it involved the NFL and put a black eye on the NFL like Josh Brown and put a black eye on his wife.
Yeah.
So, and the NFL didn't want that. The NFL polices itself through bullyism, okay?
Yeah.
The NFL bullies its players on what you cannot say. Just like the two missed calls we saw in the New Orleans game, Charlton, where you got holding, grabbing a player behind the back of his helmet, and then you have a situation where a player steps out of bounds and the NFL doesn't overrule it, Charlton.
Yeah, they don't want to overrule it. They don't want to overrule it, Big C. That's just part. I mean, nobody's perfect. I just say get rid of Thursday Night Football and get rid of this instant replay thing. And then back to the NFL, Big C. I just want to touch on this. The two biggest cities, you have the Los Angeles Rams and the New York Jets. See, I know how to spell, Big C. And now the Jets and the Rams, a 9-6 score. That's a baseball score, Big C. When you think about how these two proud franchises, and both have played in Super Bowls with the Jets under the great, Joe Namath, and then the Rams have been there also. I think it was Ferragamo who led the Rams to the Super Bowl when they lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. but that's a game where it just nothing happening offensively in the biggest city in the country where football is great, Big C. Why are the Rams and the Jets looking so anemic, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you have to be careful what you wish for these days. You know, you bring the Rams back to Los Angeles. This is the second game they've won this season, Charlton, without scoring a touchdown.
Yeah.
This offense has been very anemic. You know, we talked about the offensive line there not getting the job done. Todd Gurley not being able to get on track. It's, you know, rookie of the year at running back last year in the NFL while they were in St. Louis. And they did nothing to improve the offensive line. They traded away half their draft picks to draft a quarterback that they don't even dress.
Yeah.
Jeff Fisher right now is bucking for a new contract extension. I have no idea why.
From who's going to give him one, DC?
You know, as the pace is going, he's going to get one from the Rams. They will extend him. But yet,
wow.
You know, yet you're talking about firing other coaches around the NFL like Marvin Lewis, who has more wins.
Yeah.
You're talking about getting rid of Mike McCarthy in Green Bay. You're talking about getting rid of successful heritage in the NFL in the coaching ranks.
Yeah.
Guys who have won, who still win, and you want to get rid of them versus a guy who hasn't won in a decade, Charlton. And you know, you have to question his coaching motivation. But the Rams, you know, not scoring a touchdown, Charlton, like I said, for the second time this year and winning a game. So you look at them and the Jets, and it's like you have to question the NFL. I know on any given Sunday.
Yeah.
But this is ridiculous. You got multi-million-dollar players out there, and the thing is, I think the last time they checked, the football weighs 13 ounces.
Yeah, well, not Tom Brady's football weighs like 12 ounces, Big C. Just like, that's what Roger Goodell said, okay?
But that ball was too heavy for them to carry across the goal line. I have to question that, though.
Yeah, you know, that's funny because when you think about that, no one's talking about Deflategate right now, Big C, right? But there's so many other things going on. Imagine if we spent as much time trying to end domestic violence as we did investigating a guy that had no way of letting the air out of the football. And speaking of letting the air out of the football, I thought the second greatest game of the day yesterday, the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. You know, what a great environment in Pittsburgh to watch a football game. And the Dallas Cowboys coming in there. I think of the days of all these great Steeler and Cowboy games where there's Roger Staubach going against Terry Bradshaw, where there's Dorsett going against Franco Harris. I mean, just some great games. Yesterday's game decided in the final minute of the game. The Steelers took the lead when Big Ben faked like he was taking a knee on the game, Big C, or taking a spike to the ball, and he was able to hook up to Brown for a touchdown. And then Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott, they go right down the field and score, and the Cowboys win it with about 9 seconds left by the score of 35-30. Had to be the greatest game yesterday, but maybe second to only the Seattle and New England game. Your thoughts on Dallas and also Pittsburgh, Big C?
Well, Charlton, this is the quandary that the NFL and the Dallas Cowboys in. You got the hottest team in the league on an 8-0 run, okay?
Yeah.
8-0. Now, no team with a white quarterback that's on an 8-0 run is anybody talking about replacing. I don't care if he's a rookie, a 10-year veteran, whatever.
Yeah.
But you got a team with a quarterback that has won you 8 consecutive games, and all you can talk about is this often injured veteran quarterback who has now been on injured reserve the entire year, Charlton, and all of last year.
Yeah.
And everybody keeps talking about him. Dak Prescott is the feel-good story in the NFL this year, Charlton, of all the players. A fourth-round draft pick out of Mississippi State, who has done nothing but right things. He threw, an interception the other day. Wow. I've never heard so many, I've never heard so many white national media broadcasts talking about they're waiting on a guy to mess up so they can bring the white guy in.
Isn't that something?
And let him play quarterback.
Isn't that crazy?
That's all, they might as well just say that. We're waiting on the black guy to lose a game so we can really have a reason to put the white guy in. Even though he's won 8 in a row, damn, he's going to win 9 in a row. So as long as he's winning, they keep questioning. I mean, show me another team in the NFL.
Yeah. Show
me a team that's 1-8, Charlton, 1-7. And they're talking about replacing the quarterback. Nobody's talking about replacing Drew Brees.
Are you saying, Big C, that race also matters in the NFL, Big C? Is that what you're saying, you and Jerry Jones?
Really? I didn't realize there were any black and white players in the league.
Right. I thought that was funny. Maybe Jerry Jones is dyslexic. He thinks they're 1-8. But someone needs to tell him the Cowboys are 8-1, Big C.
But look at Sam Bradford. What has he lost? 4 games in a row?
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about replacing him.
No.
You look up and down the list. Jay Cutler. Nobody's talking about replacing Jay Cutler other than Jay Cutler. He's like, I don't want to play, but they're going to pay me, so I keep cashing the paycheck.
Yeah.
You know, when you look around the league, Charlton, and you see these quarterbacks that are non-productive, and teams are saying, hey, you know, this is the best we got.
Yeah.
And yet the best playing quarterback in the NFL overall, I'm not talking about leading the league in passing yardage. I'm not talking about leading the league in rushing. I'm talking about overall what he does.
He's a baller. He's a baller, Big C.
When you look at the Dallas team as a whole, Charlton, the enthusiasm that runs through that organization right now, they haven't seen that in a long time.
No, they haven't.
A long time, Charlton. You got offensive linemen playing at elite level.
Yeah.
You got a defense that everybody maligned at the beginning of the season that is playing lights out.
Yeah.
You got a rookie quarterback and a rookie running back. They should be co-rookies of the year, even if the season ends in a day or it ends in 6 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
8 weeks. They should be co-rookies of the year because no one will eclipse what this combination has done. This is the first time in NFL history, Charlton, that you've had a rookie quarterback and a rookie running back to do these things.
Yeah, he's already over 1,000 yards rushing the ball. Is Elliott. When you look at Dallas, he had 21 carries, 114 yards yesterday. Had a nice long run that was a screenplay for a touchdown. When you look at Bell for Pittsburgh, Le'Veon Bell, 17 carries, 57 yards, but passing. You're right, Big C. Dak Prescott, 22 of 32, 319 yards. And then Roethlisberger, 37 of 46, 408 yards. And Bryant for the Cowboys, 6 catches, 116 yards. I just think when you look at what they're doing, it's the leadership at that position that makes a difference. He doesn't get phased. He doesn't make mistakes. But I do think it's so unfair to him and Jerry Jones and all those good old boys. There's still this talk of bringing back the old girlfriend. I'll never forget one time I was in college and I dated this girl. You know, she broke up with me for whatever reason. Maybe I didn't have enough money, or I didn't, you know, whatever it was, I didn't have enough of anything. And then when you start going well, she's trying to find your phone number. You know what I'm saying? She's trying to find where Big C lives now, Big C. I just think that sometimes when you have to go forward in life, and I know Jerry Jones has all the money in the world, he and Donald Trump and the good old boys, but sometimes if you can't stay out of the way, I see why Jimmy Johnson left the Cowboys, because he was tired of the same old garbage that Jerry Jones is still doing right now. He should emphatically say, Prescott is our guy, and that's it. But he won't do that, Big C, because he's trying to let those good old boys know, hey, you still got a job with me, Big C. Your thoughts on that? Am I too far off the mark, Big C?
Well, Charlton, and what makes it so bad about it, he's activating Romo this week, and he most likely would be activating Mark Sanchez, a minority quarterback.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, how is this going to divide the locker room? The locker room right now belongs to Dak Prescott. Yes, they know Tony Romo's their teammate. He's been there for 12 years.
Yeah.
12 years with no productivity, Charlton. Yes, he's put up tremendous numbers, but he hasn't put up the wins in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's the sign of an NFL quarterback. You know, and other than Ben Roethlisberger having the longest rookie winning streak of all time, you know, Dak Prescott now is second, Charlton. Second in that winning streak as a rookie quarterback. And so how do you want to mess with success? I don't see any other team, Charlton, in the NFL. I see all these guys get off hot starts. Carson Wentz, they didn't talk about replacing him after he lost 3 games in a row.
Yeah.
There's been no talk about replacing Matt Ryan, who's lost 3 games this year.
Yeah.
You know, you look up and down the list, Charlton, the quarterbacks that have been maligned in the NFL. You know, we had Colin Kaepernick, an African-American quarterback.
Yeah.
We had Dak Prescott, who the team had to dumb down the offense for him to be successful.
Yeah.
This is the national white media thing with the Dallas Cowboys dumb down their offense. Dak Prescott.
You say the same ones that voted for Donald Trump, Big C. That's the one that said this is the kind of country we want, Big C. Everybody that's hating each other. Is that what we need?
That's what and not only that, did they dumb down the offense, they call the rest of the NFL team and say, hey, you guys need to dumb down the defense because Dallas is coming down and they dumb down this black quarterback's offense for him to be successful. So we need you to play dumb on defense.
Well,
that's what the national media said. I mean, when you think about what they said, Charlton, the rest of the NFL got dumb because Dak Prescott was a quarterback. Nobody dumbed down for Carson Wentz.
No,
and
guess what I heard? Guess what I heard on one of the sports shows? It's a national sports show. They were saying when it comes to MVP that the Dallas Cowboys offensive line should be the MVP. I think that's the same offensive line they had last year, Big C. Am I right or wrong about that, Big C?
Same offensive line, Charlton. I think what they did, Mustard 4 wins last year.
Yeah.
So Dak Prescott has doubled the Dallas Cowboys win total from 2015, and they still have how many games? 9 games, 7 games left to play. They've doubled the win total already after 9 games.
Yeah.
With the same offensive line that they had last year, Charlton. The only difference in their offense It's two players, two African-American players.
Yeah, and those,
and
if those players, if Donald Trump gets his way, all kidding aside, those two players, Prescott and Elliott, they will be the targets of what's called stop and frisk by the new Trump administration. If you don't think that's scary, you guys are already trying to move this neo-white ring Nazis into the White House, Big C, and I don't care if anybody agrees with that. Just Google it. Google the background of the guys he's trying to make in his cabinet, Big C, and I don't care what anybody says. I agree with Popovich. I agree with Coach Kerr and also Van Gundy. It's a scary time for our country. People, please keep your head out of the sand. And also the last NFL game, Big C, we'll talk about is the one that happened in Foxborough last night. The Seattle Seahawks really established themselves again over the New England Patriots. It came down to the wire. I thought it was a great game. And I think that even trumps the Pittsburgh and the Dallas game as a game of the day because it came down to the last play. And did Brady choke, or was it just good defense by Chancellor, Big C?
Well, Brady didn't choke. I mean, you got to give credit to the Seattle defense. They know how to play defense against New England. They've done it before, even though they lost the Super Bowl against them, Charlton. They played the game. No one thought that Brady would lose the game the rest of the season the way he came into the lineup, starting out, just impeccable play.
Yeah.
But, Russell Wilson was hurt, Charlton, in the first part of the season. He's getting healthy, Charlton. His mobility's coming back. But look at Doug Baldwin, his undrafted wide receiver who's leading the team in reception.
Oh, yeah.
He had three touchdowns last night, Charlton. When you think about it, we're seeing all the praise of all these number one drafted wide receivers in the NFL, Odell Beckham, Julio Jones, A.J. Green, and so on and so on. Greg Landry down the list. But look at, Doug Baldwin. This kid was an undrafted free agent who found a home in Seattle. Pete Carroll knows talent like anybody else.
Oh, yeah, he's amazing.
He found a home in Seattle, and he's become one of the elite receivers in the NFL. But with the 3 touchdowns last night against New England, nobody's touched New England like that, Charlton, all year long.
Yeah, and speaking, go ahead, Big C.
So when you look at them, and they found a little bit of running game, Forsythe, rookie out of Notre Dame, carried the ball very well, but with the mobility, and also Seattle has 2 rookie offensive linemen, Charlton, 2 rookie offensive tackles. So when you think about the development of this team and how well it's getting better, and I spoke out of character. Well,
get the grammar right, Big Z. They're going to deport people with bad grammar, just so you know. Big Z.
I got to get me a damn teleprompter, Charlton. I got to do that.
There you go.
But I can't read because I'm dyslexic, so the spot ain't going to do me any good.
Okay, that's funny, Big Z.
So when you look at what these players are doing in Seattle, they can play, but when you're thinking two of the top performers on that field last night, Charlton, both of them were free agents. And look at what LeGarrette Blount did last night and has done for this season with the New England Patriots. He was a free agent coming out of Oregon. And you look at Baldwin, a free agent. So this is when I talk about the devaluation of African-American players.
Yeah.
All of them are being devalued. You can bring them in as free. You know the talent that you're getting, bring them in for nothing.
Yeah. Well, Big C,
all the white players are being drafted. The black players are free agents and low-round draft picks.
Well, I think there's so many subtleties. You're only going to hear about it on Charlton and Big C Sports, and that's why I say Charlton and Big C Sports has voted for the #1 sports show in the universe. In fact, we are the only sports show that does it freestyle. That means no teleprompter, no producer in your ear telling you what to say, no one holding up a cue card. Big C does this thing from the swamps in the good old South, Big C. He's worried about alligators. He's worried about what do they call those big catfish, Big C? Are those sharks or catfish? Sometimes they look like both. But I also want to say tonight's game you have Cincinnati and a Monday night game against the New York Giants. So hopefully it's a great game. And as we close the show, I just want to say everyone worldwide, we thank you for following Charlton and Big C Sports, the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and his good up boys. And as we always say, there's no excuse for domestic violence. No woman should ever have to go through that alone. If you ever see a woman in trouble, just call 911 and help her get out of trouble. Also, as we like to tell you, every single Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, worldwide, follow Charlton and Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network. And as we tell you, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.